everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, Rajiv. Hello.
Sorry.
No problem. Hello. That's the fun about being online and on live.
Absolutely right. That's the best part about it. So we sort of get it on and get it back. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to wherever you're logging in from. Welcome to the OYF show. Welcome, Priyanka.
Hello to you. Good afternoon. And you know what that also meant? It's being real, not perfect, which is what our guest today wishes to convey. But let me start with a little bit about ourselves and what we are trying to achieve here at the OYF, which stands for Own Your Future. We are trying to build conversations, power nuggets, studies, insights, toolkit, learning management system, and a lot more. A space that is being built for you so that you can go ahead and have those dreams, so you can go ahead and own your future. With that, I'd like to invite Rajiv and his power nugget.
Well, thanks, Priyanka. You're right. Own Your Future is all about you. And here's the power nugget for today. Mutual respect and sincere intention to collaboration is probably the best gift that we humans can use as a currency to exchange our energy. And let me tell you this, more teams do this, more humans do this, we will become a much better society, a much better performing team, and honestly, something that's self driven. So that's exactly what we are all about. And that's precisely what we believe the show is all about. Priyanka, do you want to just run the brief intro video of the show before we invite our guest?
Yes.
Well,
how are you?
We have a wonderful guest, Ahmad Imam, the man, the real man. And I was right to call him the real man because of the fact that, well, he believes in two very simple things. And that's something which I want to introduce him as. He believes that what is important is the fact that even if he's not perfect, he's real. And that's exactly what I love about him. And before this, I was just having a brief conversation with him. And I was saying the first time I interacted with him, there was a voice message that he sent across. And I said, wow, this is a man who really stands for what he is here for, what he really exemplifies. And today, he's going to talk to us about something that probably is so very important in today's time: building your personal brand, building your personal brand for the digital world. And I think that there can't be a better person than Ahmed to sort of share his journey, his story about how he has built his brand, how he's built what he does today with senior executives, with CEOs, and everything. Instead of helping them create a future for themselves around it. He exemplifies Own Your Future. There can't be a better person than him who exemplifies that. So Ahmed, let's start with you telling us a little bit about where did this all start, your initial days, your initial journey. Over to you, Ahmed.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Priyanka. Really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on. I love the power nugget that you mentioned earlier. I think it's spot on. And it really ties into what we're going to talk about today. Wow. Okay. So where do I start? So look, this is now almost my third year on LinkedIn and being incredibly active on social media. And when I started in October 2018, when I put out my very first piece of content on LinkedIn. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no strategy. I didn't know what my intention or the outcome would be. And it was an experiment for me. But I very quickly realized that LinkedIn especially was a platform different to any other platform. It was a platform where you can truly connect with people. It's a platform where you can be more of yourself. And it's a platform that's very forgiving in the sense that you don't need to put out content that is, recorded with a $10,000 camera, amazing production quality. You don't need to have a setup like I have now. This is only something I've done recently. As long as the message is real, as long as the message is genuine, as long as the message is of value, as long as the message makes people think in a different way, have a different thought, then that's exactly what people want to see. And so the sooner I realized that people don't care what you look like or what you sound like, what they do care about is the message, is where everything shifted for me. So I started off actually creating some very, let's call it professional content, because at the time I was in the real estate industry. I was the director of a property consultancy in Sydney. And so a lot of the content I was putting out was property tips, real estate tips, what locations to buy in and things of that nature. And I found myself getting really bored with the content I was putting out. And so I decided to do something a little bit different. And I took a bit of a risk, and I decided to share a story that was a little bit more personal to me. And it was a story based on, we can call it discrimination or bias or diversity. And it was me getting very, very raw and real in the video by sharing a personal story to me and something that I experienced, probably 6 years prior. And the response I received to that story and that video just blew me away. So it was me being very vulnerable in a video, but the response I received from the community, it was just incredible. And I realized very quickly that this is a platform not just for us to showcase our professional personas, but for us to showcase that human being that's behind the professional persona, that human being that's actually behind the business. And that's how you truly connect with people. And so that was a aha moment for me. And for me, I then took it one step further, and I started to really peel back a few layers and show people these different sides of me, my personalities, and not just the highlight reels, as in not just me showing myself as being successful, but me showing those difficult times that we all face. So I've learned a lot in that 3-year period. I've done everything from put out controversial content. I've put out rap videos where I've rapped with a number of people. So my journey has been about confidence, courage, and content. And we can definitely explore that a little bit further.
Oh, and I'd love to hear more about what brought you to just those 3 words. But for now, I'd take a little bit more time and delve on those personal experiences. So share with us something that stayed after so many years and so many followers.
Something I've learned after so many followers?
Yeah, something personal, something that, like, other than your aha moment, something that's kind of reminded you every day that, yes, these are so many people who watch my work.
I tell you, it's very, very surreal to think that I've got 1 million followers. And I'm not the kind of person that I don't know that likes to brag about that or talk about that. So it is very, very surreal, and I'm so grateful for the community. But at the same time, I now realize that that's a lot of people. That's a responsibility. So I now have a responsibility to use the platform that I have to really use social media for social good.
Right.
To use it to make a social impact, to use it to really showcase the values that are important to me and the values that I'd love to see in other people. So that's why you see me talk about kindness and optimism and growth and integrity and respect and all of those things that I feel are very important for all of us. And so anyone that's watching this that is building up a bit of an audience via social media, you have to really sit back and understand that you have a platform and you have a responsibility. And what is your responsibility to your audience? What is your responsibility to humanity? And I say humanity because it's important to think much, much bigger than we currently usually think about. What impact are you going to have on humanity that you can actually share with the world? And whatever that is, that's what you should gear your platform to be about. Now, of course, I'm not naive to think that we're not here for business and to generate leads and to generate revenue. Of course, that's a part of it as well. But what I'm saying is people will connect with that human being first, that personal brand first. And if they know, like, and trust that personal brand, they will then gravitate towards your business. And they will do their research. They will look at your websites, your blogs, and everything like that once they've got that initial connection.
Yeah, I think you said something very, very interesting here, Ahmed. And I think it's so real that there is a human side of it which many times we probably ignore, or we believe that that's something that's not as important in today's world, and that's something which is very close to probably what you just now said, that showing up as you are, showing up as the person that you are, is supposedly the most important thing, is what you just said. But how important is that in the digital world, and how crucial it is to lay the foundation for your personal brand? And what are your thoughts on that?
It's very important. So, I mean, things have shifted 180. All right. So previously, even just 10 years ago, there was a large focus on business branding, business marketing, and how you attracted people was to put your business brand out there, have people engage with that. And then, of course, they get aligned with the business and they deal with a person from that business. Now things have shifted completely. Now things are the complete opposite. People will gravitate towards people. And if they know, like, and trust that person, they'll then gravitate towards the business. And there are classic examples. If I was to mention the name Virgin or Richard Branson, more people are connected with Richard Branson, the person, than they are with Virgin, the business. And because they're connected with Richard Branson, they're then up to date with everything that's happening with Virgin. Gary Vaynerchuk is another classic example. Elon Musk is another classic example. These are personal brands. And alongside that complements that personal brand is the Tesla, is the Vayner Media, is Virgin. So, I mean, it's very, very important. Now, when I say the concept of get people to know, like, and trust you, one question I get asked all the time is, I understand the know part. You have to make yourself visible on social media, but how do you get people to like you? Because it's a very strange thing to think about. I mean, how does one person start to like another? Like, what is that quality? And I like to say that the quality to make people like you is not just authenticity, but consistent authenticity. And that goes back to your point. If you're showing up as yourself, and people can see you just showing up as yourself. And Priyanka, you touched on it earlier, like even just a little mishap in the live, that's expected. That's a real thing that happens, and instead of hiding it, you acknowledge it. And that's exactly what you did. So consistent authenticity is the key. And that's what I'm a huge advocate of. And I must admit, it's not easy because we've been conditioned to put on this mask and put on this professional persona, but that needs to shift if you really want your personal brand to engage your target audience.
Interesting. I also want to touch upon what we've briefly mentioned, that you've had the good fortune to work with a lot of people who are now tiding over into the digital space, with people who have a lot of experience under the belt. And before we were chatting in the green room, what I wanted to say was that it's possibly a responsibility of those who understand the platform better to share it with those who are still learning the ropes. That said, I think it's a reality of the world that not everybody is as comfortable with every skill, and digital is a newfound skill in certain senses. Tell me, why have you chosen the three words of courage, content, and confidence? And tell me that story as to how
Brilliant
those words
question.
came along.
Yeah, thank you for that. And they're three words that I bring up constantly when it comes to content creation. And that is because content creation does require courage. What you're telling the world is, this is me, this is my story, and I want you to come along on that journey with me on that story. And so it does absolutely require courage. Now, I like to say that confidence is simply having the courage to speak your truth, because that is another thing that a lot of us are afraid to do, because we're afraid of being judged. We're afraid that no one's going to resonate with it. We're afraid that we're going to put out a piece of content that perhaps is too real, and it's going to receive no likes and no comments, and it's going to just sit there, and you're just going to hear crickets. So the words confidence, courage, and content for me are very, very personal, also based on where I've come from. So even just 15 years ago, and a lot of people don't usually believe this when I tell them, because they see me now and they see this confident, well-spoken person, and believe me when I say I wasn't always that way. So 15 years ago, I was a very shy and awkward kid. I experienced a lot of bullying in school. And for me, the process of the last 15 years was quite literally trying to teach myself how to be confident, how to be courageous. And the content is really just another pillar for me to extend on that confidence and learn something that is a brand new skill set, more or less, or that was a brand new skill set. So anytime I see somebody that has a little bit of doubt or lacks confidence, I feel compelled to help them destroy that doubt and build that confidence and courage they need to live their best life. And living their best life means being able to present themselves in a way that they want to present themselves, being able to create the opportunities they want to create, or presenting themselves in such a way and reaching that potential so that those opportunities can actually come their way. That is very important to me. So in all of my content now, because I've experienced what it feels like not to have confidence and not to have courage, I try and amplify that and build that confidence and courage in others. And so a lot of my content revolves around being real, not worrying about being perfect, and also revolves around kindness, learning to be kind to yourself. That's so very important. We're often so hard on ourselves because we are reaching for that perfectionism, and it's unattainable. It's impossible to reach. So confidence, courage, and content are birthed from a very real place for me, and it's something that I like to instill in others.
I just want to reflect back on something you said earlier and then sort of attach it to another question that comes to my mind. Uh, you spoke about a very interesting point you made about Tesla as a business brand and Elon Musk as the personal brand. And also, similarly, when you think of Virgin and you think of Richard Branson.
Yes.
I know of what you've done and what you continue to do. You work quite closely with Tony Robbins. You work with Richard Branson. Now, there's one question that comes to my mind is before I come to the other one is that when you've seen these people and you've observed these people, and when you look at somebody who's starting off in this journey, what are the similarities or differences that you see in them doing what they did? So, for example, if I was to imagine Elon Musk starting 15 years back or 20 years back when he didn't understand what social media was all about, and what he would have done versus a normal person on the streets who wants to do that. Are there any patterns? Are there any similarities that you experience? That'll be an interesting thing to get to know from your from what you've been doing so far.
Yeah, that's a very insightful question. And look, if I was to say there's any similarities between those people or people potentially starting off, it's the fact that the people that you mentioned specifically, like the Elon Musks, like the Richard Bransons or the Gary V's or the Tony Robbins, they had very, very strong visions and dreams, very big dreams, big audacious dreams. And they never doubted that they would actually achieve it, which is a very interesting thing to think about. Every single one of them have not only achieved what they actually set out to achieve at the beginning, they have far exceeded it. And when you give that some thought, it comes down to belief, specifically self-belief. A lot of those people, I mean, look at what Elon Musk's doing now. He's on the verge of colonizing Mars. Like we talk about reaching for the stars. He went well beyond the stars. It's unbelievable. So they have this relentless determination and focus to try and achieve this vision that they've almost manifested. And that's something that's very, very similar amongst them all. And right now you see that, Elon Musk reaching for Mars. You see Richard Branson literally just, went into space and is looking to make space tourism a new thing. You've got people like Tony Robbins who have impacted billions of people, who was initially someone that was actually overweight and depressed and came from an abusive household. They all had this incredibly resilient and strong focus and determination to achieve what they wanted to achieve. And they didn't doubt themselves in the process. Okay, so this is just testament to the fact that belief leads to everything else.
Yeah, I think that's so insightful, and thanks for sharing that, because that gives the power to the individual to dream big, and I think that's absolutely fundamental to be able to move forward. So I think that is very useful. Another thing that sort of connects with this piece that you just mentioned is that, and I'm sure in your work that you do, in the type of engagements that you have with different people, uh, what is the question about personal brand that you ask the most? One, and I can think of two possibilities. One is that, uh, do I need a personal brand? And second is, how do I get started? So the question is about what is the personal brand and how do I get started? Which is the more popular question that you're faced with, and in which order, if I was to say that?
Yeah, in order, I would say why first and then how second. And the reason is, for a lot of my clientele, I deal with people like CEOs and executives and sophisticated entrepreneurs and business owners. And these are all people that have influence in real life, if I can use that term.
Yes.
Um, they
Yes.
have influence in their businesses. They have influence with the people around them. They've built up very successful organizations and brands offline, but they haven't done that intentionally. They've just done that as a result of their position, as a result of this influence that they have offline. And so the question that they usually ask is why? You know, if I'm already successful offline, if I have built this influence offline, why do I need to build a personal brand and be intentional about building that personal brand? And there's a number of reasons that I can give them. You know, having that visibility and influence allows you to impact people at scale. And a lot of these people have been through incredible journeys. And I like to say that if you have the ability to impact somebody positively, then you've got the obligation to do that. So at some point, people are going to want to focus on contribution and giving back or sharing their knowledge. And social media is a perfect platform to do that. But furthermore, it's increased visibility to your business. It's increased traffic to your business. More traffic is more visibility. More visibility is more leads. You know, more leads is more customers. There are so many benefits of building influence online and building this personal brand that it's a must now. And anyone that doesn't focus on it, that's in a position that is, you know, as a business owner or an executive or an employee or an entrepreneur, I actually can think of no one that wouldn't need a personal brand. If you don't focus on it now, you're going to be left behind very, very quickly. Okay, because it'll do everything from have you being perceived as an expert and an authority in your industry. It'll create more traffic for you and your business. It'll keep you top of mind for your existing clients and also any potential clients. It'll keep your customers, it'll help your customers to trust you more because as they see more of you through your content and understand you more and build that connection with you more, they will build that trust. And once they trust you, they'll do business with you. They'll repeat to do business with you. And it also validates your customer's decision to work with you. So there are so many strong benefits of the personal brand, and I've really just touched the surface there.
You know, I want to add to what you say, and I want to share with you my personal story of visibility. But I want to talk about the repeatedness of the visibility. So I
Yes.
was in a land where language was not a common ground. For a couple of years I was living in North Russia, and they didn't speak either my native language, Hindi, or English, which is what I also speak fine, quite all right. So you know, it was pretty much a blind man's buff. Like, you had to buy food, you could not read what was on the package, but you really kind of could not buy local food for a couple of years, so you had to do that.
Yeah.
Over time I realized that I was willing to pick up food which I had seen for many days now. And while the milk, say the milk carton, which I did not see for which I have not seen earlier, is something I would not give to the kids. I would still probably buy it and keep it for me, try it on, but I wouldn't give the milk carton to the kids, the one that I haven't seen in the stores for many days together. Similarly, for shopping, like, I did not know which grocery store I could go to because it was all written in Russian. But the beauty of branding is that it helps you recognize minus the reading. So when I
I
would
love
see
that.
a store, and I would see, okay, this is a store, and this is the same store I saw maybe in the different city, or maybe in the different part of the city. So these guys are the same. Okay, so this store maybe does that. And then, if I need something which I think might be available, I felt better, because right now you were pretty much quite literally groping in the dark, because it was dark in parts of the day for some months, and this was not. So when you say visibility, so I think that kind of answers and brings me to the other part that I must dwell from your experience. What has been more important, visibility or content, or would you kind of weight the two together?
Well, look, I mean, I have to say visibility, because without visibility, no one's seeing your content, you know? So I would start with making sure you have a strategy, first of all. And that strategy should be an intentional strategy to showcase you and your brand, and making sure that it's speaking to your target audience. And that is something that you have to do before you even think about content, or before you even think about visibility. Once you have that, and you know that your intent for putting out the content and being more visible is there, it makes things far easier. Okay, so I'm talking about understanding what your values are, understanding what your end game is, understanding what you're trying to achieve out of all this, understanding what the next steps are if you were to be approached by a potential client. All of those things are so very important. And to your earlier point, Priyanka, another massive shift that we've had is that there are a lot of other people putting out content. And I don't just mean personal brands, business brands. Every single day, we are seeing thousands of pieces of content, directly or indirectly, consciously or subconsciously. And it used to be the case where we needed to have at least 6 touch points with a business or a person before we felt that we could trust them enough to do a transaction with them. Now, because everything is so very saturated and we're seeing so much content come from everywhere, we need to see at least 26 touch points from someone or something before we feel comfortable enough to transact with them. So if you are a business, that means someone might need to see your content 26 times before they feel comfortable enough to approach you. If you're a personal brand, they need to see something of you at least 26 times, whether it be an email or a piece of content on social media, or whatever it might be, any particular asset, 26 times. So that's the world that we're in now. So it's very, very important to be part of it. And to be quite honest, it's a combination of content and visibility.
Yeah, that also answers Joy's question, and where he wanted us to touch upon how visibility and content. And he says, is there visibility without content? But yeah, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg thing. But of course, for those who walk that path, have possibly walked that path with so many people, and have probably more precise answers to what otherwise is work in progress.
Yeah.
So,
Spot on, Joy. And good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Joy, and a lot of other people, Rina, and I think it's nice to have some known faces on the show here. Just to sort of reflect back on what we were just discussing just now, Ahmed, I think another aspect that comes to my mind is, and you did delve into this earlier, is the fact that there is a business brand and there's a personal brand, right? And I think so, while both of them are independent, but yet in some cases they're intertwined, they're interconnected in terms of the way that they need to manifest in terms of the values and the core sort of pillars that probably need to drive what gets delivered through organizations, through culture, and through whatever that needs to get delivered, especially when it comes to brands like, say, Tesla and Elon Musk, who themselves very, very large assets and properties in the marketing arena. Now, having said that, what comes to my mind is, if you were to look for, say, top 3 tips of what would make a successful personal brand, my question is that would the tips be different for a business brand and a personal brand, or would they be similar?
Look, at their core, they'd be very, very similar. And I like to keep things very, very simple. Okay. And then it can be, we can narrow it down into the depth and make it far more complicated if we need to. Essentially, the initial strategy is to get people to know you, like you, and trust you. That's it. In terms of getting started, you don't need the fancy cameras and the fancy lighting and a studio like I have. This is only something like I mentioned, I've been able to build recently. All you need, and I say this to my clients, all you need to get started is a phone and a message. That's it. If you have a phone and you have a message to share that you know that can benefit someone, then you're good to go. And people are very, very forgiving as to what kind of content you put out, what kind of content formats you put out. But what I would say is this: regardless of whether you're a personal brand or a business brand, you have to know your audience intimately. Who are you actually speaking to? You know, like what kind of problems do they have? What kind of problems can you solve for them? What are their pain points? What are they feeling and thinking every single day? You know, like what do they go through on their current journey and their current buying experience? All of those things you have to have such great detail of, to the point where you create yourself an avatar. So as a personal brand, if I'm putting out a video, before I even record the video, I think to myself, okay, this is the person that I'm speaking to. For this video, I'm speaking to that 35-year-old gentleman that is lacking confidence. They need to understand how to create content, but they have no idea how to start. They've probably recorded a lot of pieces of content before and they haven't posted anything. That's the level of detail that I'll go into before I actually put out a piece of content that is intentional. So that's the similarity between a personal brand and a business brand, is that you have to know your target audience intimately. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what content you put out. It doesn't matter what visibility you have. It'll be for nothing if you're not actually speaking to someone and specifically helping them with that problem that they have.
You know, it's quite magical that you might be speaking to that someone in the digital space who you haven't met, like you haven't met in person, but when you're speaking to them, I think that's what kind of transcends this medium versus traditional marketing, that you're kind of speaking to somebody only that you may not know the name at that point of time. So which is
Very true, very true. And look, I like to put a face to them. Sometimes it would have been maybe a client that I have, or a client that I used to work with. And so I know that, okay, I'm talking to Shelly right now in this video, or for this video, I'm going to direct this to Tim, right? And being able to do that, I can go onto that video and provide such detailed advice and speak with conviction, to the point that that avatar, that target audience, will think I'm speaking directly to them. And that's how you make that connection happen.
interesting. So what's coming up next? We've had a great milestone that we've touched with you, and over 1 million followers. What are you looking forward to?
I have some very exciting projects, and I actually can't talk about them right now, but there are many things happening over the coming months which you'll definitely see from me. And as always, I like to take things to the next level. So I just like to step up in terms of content, in terms of what I'm bringing to the table, in terms of the impact that I can make, in terms of the people that I can partner with. So please stay tuned for that one.
I think one thing one can expect of you, from you, is that what you do is going to be something that's like building a colony in Mars, right? So that's something that you want your people to really do that, and that's something that I really admire about you. I just said $1 million question to the million follower person. Very simply, give us simple 3 steps that somebody should take if he wants to get started with a personal brand.
Okay. 2 things. First of all, take some time to really understand what is important to you. Okay. So I'm talking about, what are your values? I'm talking about, what are your non-negotiables? All right. So, you can even get a list of values from Google and just go through those values and understand which of those values for you are absolute non-negotiables, as in that's what you stand for. That's what you choose to accept, and anything alternative to that, you choose not to accept. And I say that because when creating your personal brand, people need to sense that from you. They need to feel that from you. Okay, so like I said, I know with great clarity that my values are kindness, optimism, growth, integrity, respect. And that's because I've worked with a business strategist to come to that. And now every single piece of content that I put out, there will be an element of one of those values in each of those pieces of content. And that helps me stay aligned. It helps me stay real, and it helps me stay true. That's the very first thing. The second thing is, and I'll be repeating myself here, but if you want to get started, just get started by speaking your truth. Okay. If you have a message that you know can benefit and impact someone, then please, you've got the obligation to share that message. So it becomes less about you and more about the people that you can impact. And that, when I say it that way, usually helps a lot of people get started, because a lot of us can be self-conscious and be very, very critical on ourselves and judge ourselves and worry that people are going to judge us. You're not doing this for yourself. You're doing this for others that you can actually impact and benefit. So I would suggest you just get started with a phone and a message. You don't have to record a video. You can lean on your strengths. And if your strengths are in writing, then you can write until your heart's content. Okay, you can write text posts and blogs, and you can definitely build influence through that. I know many people that have done just that. If your skill set is more around in video, then feel free to share your message through video. But either way, just get started, okay? Because everyone starts the same way. I put out a video recently that said, I hate to break it to you, but your first piece of content is going to suck. You know, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And you don't just get better and better, you just start to suck less and less. so just get started.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, and with true. Time, it is very true. With time, it works. With time, you start to certainly feel that you can be more of yourself through your content.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I was just thinking about my own experience when you were talking about it. Get started. Your first video will suck. And it's so true, actually. If I was to look back 6 months
Rajiv,
back,
I remember your first video. So you have to go back to Rajiv's first video to see what you said and see it in action.
I'm telling you, and it's so true. 6 months back, I could have never imagined that I would be sitting here on a live show and talking to somebody like Ahmad, but it was something that I just chose to do. And I may not be, I just said, and I it's so wonderfully believe in that I may not be perfect, but the fact is I'm not fake. And that's something which gives me the energy to say, keep going on, man. Everything will get better. And everything gets better each time. So thanks for saying that. And it was an amazing sort of validation for the path and the journey that one is actually moving towards. So thanks for what you do. Thanks for who you are. And thanks for being the absolutely amazing human being that you are, Ahmad. And I'm saying that from the core of my heart. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you very much. That's a beautiful thing to say. I appreciate that.
And thanks for joining us today. And so look forward to sort of staying in touch and continue to learning from you as you keep contributing to everybody. And as you said, you now have a bigger responsibility of 1 million followers. So all the best.
No pressure, right?
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure.
Thank you very much. It was lovely speaking to you both. All the best.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.